before stars were born, before atoms danced, before even time had a name, there was something, a breath, a presence, a thought vibrating in the silence. Across continents and centuries, humanity has reached into that darkness, trying to name the source of everything. And time after time, names have emerged from the void: Olodumare, Brahma, Atum, each name whispered by a different people, each story shaped by different lands. But they all point toward the same question: who or what truly created the cosmos? In Yoruba cosmology, Olodumare is the distant yet all-encompassing force from which all orishas flow. In Hindu thought, Brahma sits atop the lotus of time, crafting the world in cycles of birth and death. In ancient Kemet, Atum rises from the primordial waters of Nun, self-created, splitting himself to form the world. These aren't mere myths. They are keys, coded messages passed down through ritual and symbol, asking us to look beyond the literal and into the mystery of existence. What if they aren't separate gods, but reflections of one force, fractured by geography, culture, and memory? What if each tradition, each myth, holds a shard of the same divine mirror, showing us pieces of a truth too vast for any single story to hold? Could it be that the breath Olodumare gave, the syllable Brahma spoke, and the seed Atum released were all part of the same ancient pulse, the same moment when spirit burst into form? This isn't just a theological debate, it's a spiritual investigation, a return to the source through three powerful names, not to decide who is right, but to discover what they might all be right about. So breathe deeply, still your mind, and listen, not just to the myths, but to the silence they emerged from. The cosmos may be older than we remember, but it has not forgotten us. In the beginning, there was only stillness, and in that stillness, a presence, not thunderous, not boastful, but profound. Olodumare. In Yoruba cosmology, Olodumare is the source beyond all sources, the origin of all that is seen and unseen. Unlike gods who demand temples or descend with fire, Olodumare remains hidden, distant yet everywhere, unknowable yet unmistakable. The Yoruba do not depict Olodumare in images or statues, for to do so would limit the limitless. This deity is not a character in stories, but the breath behind all stories, the silence before the first sound, the space from which everything flows. Olodumare does not act directly. Instead, the divine will unfolds through the orishas, powerful spirits who govern every aspect of existence. These are not lesser gods, but manifestations of divine intent. Ogun, the spirit of iron and technology. Yemoja, the mother of waters. Shango, the fire of justice. Each orisha is a function, a force, a fragment of Olodumare's infinite being, sent into the world to maintain balance, enforce order, and guide humanity. They are not separate from Olodumare, nor entirely independent. They are like rays from a sun you cannot look at directly, expressions of divine will made accessible to the human spirit. The creation of the universe in Yoruba thought is not an explosion or a command. It is breath, a divine exhalation. Olodumare, in sacred stillness, releases energy that becomes matter, form, and life. This breath is not random. It is deliberate, purposeful, filled with mystery. It flows through the Orun, the spiritual realm, and into the Aye, the physical world, shaping mountains, rivers, animals, and souls. And it continues to flow. Creation is not a past event, it is ongoing. With every sunrise, every heartbeat, every act of justice or harmony, the breath of Olodumare continues its work. This unfolding is not chaotic, it follows patterns, encoded in what the Yoruba call Ace, the sacred force that animates all things. Ace is not just energy, it is authority, command, and consciousness. To speak with Ace is to create. To act with Ace is to align with the divine rhythm of the cosmos. The Orishas carry Ace, and so do humans. When balanced and in alignment, we become co-creators, mirrors of the original breath. But when we disrupt that balance, when we act in ignorance or arrogance, the world responds. Because the breath is not only creative, it is corrective. Olodumare's hiddenness is not absence, it is transcendence. To know Olodumare fully is impossible, but to feel Olodumare is inevitable. In the hush of dawn, in the birth of a child, in the wisdom of an elder, Olodumare's presence vibrates through the world. While other traditions speak of gods descending to earth, Yoruba thought sees the earth itself as sacred, already alive with divine echoes. The point is not to ascend to meet the god, but to tune oneself to the rhythm that was here before us and will remain long after. In rituals and ceremonies, the Yoruba do not pray to Olodumare directly. They approach through the Orishas, through ancestors, through divination. The Ifa system, with its verses and symbols, serves as a bridge between human understanding and cosmic design. Every consultation is a conversation with the divine pattern, every sacrifice a recalibration of one's place in the web of creation. And through it all, Olodumare breathes, not with words, but with movement, with transformation, with time. To understand Olodumare is to accept mystery, to believe in a creator so immense, so complete that it needs no temple because the universe itself is the altar. No commandments because the balance of life is instruction enough. No face because every face belongs to it. Olodumare is not the god of a single people or a single world. Olodumare is the breath beyond all things, the silence that sings us into being, the hidden flame that never dies. And in that breath, everything begins. In the vast expanse of Hindu cosmology, creation is not a single event. It is a cycle, a rhythm of birth, preservation, and dissolution that pulses through the universe like a divine heartbeat. At the center of this endless cycle stands Brahma, the creator god, the one who brings the universe into being. Yet, unlike the god of a singular command or one final act, Brahma's work is fluid, continuous, and deeply philosophical. He is not the Almighty alone, but part of the Trimurti, the sacred trinity of creation, preservation, and destruction. Alongside Vishnu, the sustainer, and Shiva, the transformer, Brahma holds the brush that paints the world anew with every cosmic dawn. Brahma's origin is wrapped in symbols that stretch the mind as much as they soothe the soul. In many stories, he emerges from a golden egg, the Hiranyagarbha, floating in the primordial waters before time. In others, he is born from a lotus flower that blossoms from the navel of Vishnu as he sleeps on the cosmic serpent, Ananta. In both versions, the imagery speaks of beauty from chaos, of potential rising from stillness. The lotus, pure and blooming above murky waters, represents divine order emerging from the void. It is not accidental, it is eternal intent. Unlike many creator gods who act alone, Brahma's role is tightly intertwined with the other faces of the divine. His creations are not permanent. They are designed to decay, to make way for something new. In this worldview, destruction is not failure, it is function. Every universe he creates will one day be destroyed by Shiva, only to be remade again by Brahma. This concept of kalpa, the vast cycle of time, reminds us that even the cosmos has a breath, in and out, rise and fall. In this breath, Brahma is the inhale. The moment potential becomes form. Brahma is often depicted with 4 heads, each facing a cardinal direction and holding sacred texts, a water pot, prayer beads, and the Vedas. These heads represent the four Vedas, the foundational spiritual texts of Hinduism, suggesting that knowledge itself is divine and that creation is informed, not chaotic. His multiple faces also remind us that the divine mind sees in all directions, that no part of existence is outside the gaze of the Creator. Yet for all his importance in cosmology, Brahma is rarely worshipped. Temples to Vishnu and Shiva fill India, but Brahma's shrines are few. Some say it is because his work is done. Creation has begun and continues without his direct involvement. Others tell stories that Brahma, once full of pride, lost the favor of devotees. But perhaps in the quiet absence of his worship, there lies another truth. Brahma is not a god of intervention. He is a god of origin, not one to be petitioned for miracles, but one to be remembered in awe. Philosophically, Brahma's presence raises profound questions. If all creation is cyclical, then what is the point of beginning? Is creation just a stage for the soul to evolve, to burn off karma, to move closer to moksha, liberation? If the universe itself is temporary, then what is eternal? Brahma doesn't give simple answers. He invites the seeker to meditate, to question, to look beyond form and into essence. In many ways, Brahma is not a personified god, but a symbol of the moment the infinite becomes finite, the abstract becomes concrete. He is the first sound, the first light, the first shape in a sea of formlessness. His presence is not loud, it is foundational. Without Brahma, there is no beginning. Without him, there is no unfolding path to walk upon. To study Brahma is to study the architecture of existence itself, to recognize that every sunrise, every birth, every idea is an echo of that first divine unfolding, and to honor him is not merely to build temples, but to become creators ourselves, shaping with awareness, acting with purpose, and knowing that even in decay, a new creation waits to bloom. Long before pyramids touched the sky and sphinxes guarded the sands, the ancient Kemetic world contemplated the beginning of all things. In their cosmology, creation did not begin with a command or a conflict, but with a great silence, the dark, endless waters of none. This was the formless abyss, a realm of pure potential where nothing yet existed, and yet everything waited. From this infinite void, a spark emerged, Atum, the self-created one, the flame that ignited the world. Atum was not born, he arose. Alone, without mother or father, he emerged from Nun by the power of his own will. This act of self-creation defined him as a being of complete autonomy and unity. He was both male and female, both origin and outcome. His name, often translated as the Complete One, reflects his wholeness, his duality, and his sufficiency. Atum did not need assistance to create. He embodied the principle of creation itself. In his being was the total seed of the cosmos. The myths of Atum speak with unapologetic intimacy. To begin the process of creation, he engaged in an act of divine self-stimulation, an act not of shame but of sacred intention. From his own body he released Shu, the god of air, and Tefnut, the goddess of moisture. In this moment, creation was not declared, it was birthed. Atum's sexuality was not taboo but foundational. In giving birth to the first elements, he established the principles of breath and water, the necessary forces for all life. He did not create from above or outside, but from within. Creation was an expression of himself. From Shu and Tefnut came Geb, the earth, and Nut, the sky, and from them 4 more deities would follow: Osiris, Isis, Set, and Nephthys. Together, these 9 gods form the Ennead, the sacred pantheon through which the rest of existence would unfold. Each member of the Ennead represents a divine principle: life, death, love, chaos, justice, woven into the tapestry of human and cosmic experience. Atum stood at the top of this divine structure, not merely as its creator, but as its axis. Through him, divine order was established, and through the Ennead, that order was maintained. In Kemetic thought, the creation of the world was not separate from the divine. It was an extension of it. The gods were not distant beings who shaped the earth and left it to spin. They were present in its every detail. The Nile's flooding was not a natural cycle, it was a sacred rhythm. The stars were not just lights, they were reminders of divine law. Atum's act of self-creation was the first note in a song that still plays, a song of harmony, balance, and renewal. Temples across Kemet honored Atum not just as a god of the past, but as a constant presence. He was often depicted as a man wearing the double crown of Upper and Lower Egypt, symbolizing the unification of opposites. Sometimes he appears in serpent form, representing the cyclical nature of time. His iconography always speaks of wholeness, of a god who needs nothing outside himself to become all things. Philosophically, Atum challenges the idea of separation. He is male and female, light and dark, creator and creation. His myth tells us that wholeness exists before division, that all opposites spring from a single source. In a world fractured by dualities, Atum reminds us that unity is not an aspiration, it is the original state. To understand him is to look inward, to recognize that within each of us lies the potential to birth worlds, to rise from chaos with vision, and to create with intention. Atum did not build the cosmos out of dust. He brought it forth from spirit, from self, from sacred solitude. In a time when people ask where the divine resides, the Kemetic answer is clear. It resides within. As it was with Atum, so it is with us. Creation begins where the void ends, with a spark, with a will, with the self stepping forward and saying, "Let there be." When we place Olodumare, Brahma, and Atum side by side, what we uncover is not contradiction, but convergence. Though their stories rise from different soils, spoken in different tongues, and shaped by distinct landscapes, their core principles echo one another with striking clarity. Each of them represents a vision of divine oneness, a being or force that stands before duality, before division, before even time. Whether it is Olodumare's breath, Brahma's lotus bloom, or Atum's solitary emergence from the waters of noon, they all begin from a single origin. That origin is complete in itself, self-generating, self-sustaining, and utterly sufficient. This oneness is not an abstract philosophical idea. It is a lived, mythic truth. Olodumare does not need to be seen to be felt. Brahma requires no army, no thunder, only the unfolding of thought into cosmos. Atum brings forth all things from within himself, not as a god with tools, but as a flame with potential. None of these creator deities rely on conflict to generate creation. They do not wage war against other forces. Instead, creation happens through breath, through will, through sacred intention. It is quiet, it is internal, it is transcendent. Breath, in particular, holds a sacred function across these cosmologies. For the Yoruba, Olodumare breathes life through Ace, animating both gods and humans with the force of divine authority. In Hindu thought, the universe is created and dissolved, with Brahma's breath aligned with the rhythm of cosmic time. For the Kemetians, Atum breathes out Shu, the god of air, literally exhaling one of the fundamental forces of the world. Breath is not just a biological function, it is the medium through which the divine becomes manifest. In these traditions, to breathe is to participate in creation. Similarly, the act of speech plays a profound role. The word is not only a tool for communication, it is a force of formation. In the Yoruba tradition, names carry power, and speaking with ace is to shape reality. In Hinduism, the syllable Om is the primordial vibration, the first sound from which all matter springs. In Kemet, Atum's utterances bring structure and order, solidifying the elements into their rightful places. Language is treated with reverence because it reflects the creative capacity of the divine. To speak is to imitate the gods. All three myths, too, lean on metaphors that point toward the unknowable. They do not try to define the divine in absolute terms. Instead, they offer images: lotus flowers, sacred breath, shining serpents, golden eggs, that evoke rather than explain. These are not logical blueprints, but poetic maps. They guide the imagination toward the infinite without pretending to capture it. Myth, in this sense, becomes a bridge between human comprehension and cosmic reality. It does not give us the answer. It invites us into the question. Each of these traditions emphasizes that creation is not a moment, but a process. The divine does not act once and then withdraw. Olodumare breathes still. Brahma's cycles continue through eons. Atum's essence flows through the gods and the order of Ma'at. We are not separate from these processes. We are within them. The world is not just made by the divine, it is made of the divine, and that understanding carries implications. If all things come from oneness, then all things are sacred. If creation is speech and breath, then silence and stillness are not absence, but potential. What these myths share, ultimately, is a reverence for the mystery itself. They do not claim to reduce the divine to facts. They tell stories that pulse with metaphor and meaning, reminding us that the cosmos is not a machine. It is a song, a breath, a dream unfolding. And perhaps the point is not to decide which God is the true creator, but to realize that in every breath, every word, and every act of becoming, we echo that ancient creation again. So, who truly birthed the cosmos? To ask that question is to step into a sea of ancient voices, each whispering their own version of the beginning. Each myth, Olodumare breathing the world into being, Brahma blooming from a lotus in endless waters, Atum rising from the abyss to create from himself, offers a unique expression of cosmic origin. But perhaps they are not meant to be competitors. Perhaps they are not conflicting claims, but converging symbols. Each narrative shines a different light on the same ineffable source. Like sun rays hitting the same mountain from different angles, they reveal facets of one truth too vast to grasp in its entirety. What's striking in this comparison is that none of these creator deities are born from another. They are self-originating. Olodumare is eternal and formless, needing no origin story, no cosmic parents. Brahma arises from Vishnu's navel or the cosmic egg, depending on the story. But in both versions, his appearance is linked to a power that lies beyond beginning and end. Atum emerges from none, with no creator before him, crafting the world from his own essence. These figures are not born into the world. They bring the world with them. They are creators because they contain all that is needed to begin. The philosophical implications of this are profound. These myths suggest that the true source of life and being is not external, it is within. Creation doesn't always come from something else. It can arise from stillness, from intention, from the raw potential of consciousness. That idea has echoed into mystic philosophies across traditions. In yoga, the soul is said to contain the universe in microcosm. In Ifa, human beings carry ace, the divine authority to create and influence reality. In ancient Kemet, the Ka, the vital force, links every individual back to the divine origin. If these gods created from themselves, what does it mean that we are made in their image? These creator deities also refuse simplicity. They are not one-dimensional gods. Olodumare is both unknowable and deeply present, both removed and everywhere. Brahma is revered as creator yet rarely worshipped, suggesting that creation itself is sacred but fleeting. Atum is both male and female, light and shadow, unity and division. These are not deities built for easy belief. They are complex, layered, and symbolic, archetypes of deeper truths about existence, being, and balance. The complexity of these myths reflects the complexity of the cosmos itself, and that's the point. The divine, like the universe, does not fit into easy categories, and so we return to the question, who truly birthed the cosmos? If we view these deities not just as cultural constructs but as archetypal truths, the question begins to transform. Instead of who, we might ask how. Instead of naming a single god, we might begin to see creation itself as a sacred act that repeats across time and tradition. Olodumare, Brahma, and Atum become symbols, not of rivalry, but of resonance. They are different cultural interpretations of an experience that lies at the very root of consciousness, the mystery of coming into being. Each myth affirms that creation is not just a physical event, it is a spiritual act. It begins with breath, with sound, with word, with will. This creation is not random. It has intelligence, purpose, order, whether it is the ace that binds the orishas, the dharma that shapes Brahma's unfolding world, or the mahat that flows from Atum's ennead. There is a sense that the universe is not accidental. It is orchestrated even if we cannot always hear the music. But what if these myths do more than explain origins? What if they are blueprints for becoming? In each narrative, creation is not a finished product. It is a process, a cycle, a rhythm. The cosmos is still unfolding, and we, as conscious beings, are part of that unfolding. We too carry the spark of creation. We too are asked to breathe life into what was not there before, to imagine, to speak, to build, to give form to formlessness. To align with any of these creation stories is to step into sacred participation. Olodumare does not just create and disappear. The divine breath continues through Ace in every action of harmony and justice. Brahma's creation is not linear. It is a wheel reminding us that ends and beginnings are mirrors of each other. Atum does not create by command, but by becoming, by embodying the very forces he releases. These myths don't just describe the origin of the universe. They invite us to live in accordance with it. And perhaps that is the answer. Not a single name, not a single god, but a unified pattern revealed through many voices. The divine is too vast for one language, too eternal for one story, too intimate to be fully external. Whether you speak of Olodumare's breath, Brahma's lotus, or Atum's divine spark, you are speaking of something sacred, something that lives not only at the beginning of time, but at the center of your being. The gods may differ, but the essence remains. And in that essence, the cosmos is born again and again, through you. Maybe the cosmos remembers more than we do. Maybe we've forgotten the names, the chants, the meanings behind the sacred symbols etched into stone, but the stars haven't. The wind still moves like breath once spoken into being. The earth still holds the rhythm of rituals once danced in perfect time with creation. Long before we had books to explain the beginning, our ancestors had memory. Living embodied memory passed through drums, chants, and sacred fire. That memory may have faded from our mouths, but it lingers in our bones. Look around and you'll see traces of that forgotten knowledge in sacred architecture aligned with constellations, in temples built not just for function, but for resonance, vibration, cosmic symmetry, in dreams where unknown voices whisper truths that don't belong to language, in the sudden, unexplainable pull toward a name you've never heard, a symbol you've never studied but somehow feel. These aren't accidents, they are echoes, divine signals calling us back to something we've been taught to forget. And perhaps this forgetting was never permanent. Perhaps it was a long inhale before the sacred exhale returned. Because at the heart of every myth we've shared is not just the act of creation, but the desire to reunite. The divine did not create to leave. It created to experience, to evolve, and ultimately to return to itself. That is the hidden yearning behind all sacred stories, the longing of the cosmos to remember itself through us. So maybe, just maybe, the gods didn't disappear. Maybe we did. Maybe the divine never stopped calling. And now, as we remember these myths, these truths, these names, it is not just us who return to the cosmos, but the cosmos that returns to us. The cosmos is not a question to be answered. It is a mystery to be reverenced. And perhaps in the end, the names do not matter as much as the truth they point to. Whether you call it Olodumare, Brahma, or Atum, you are invoking a presence far beyond language. These are not just gods of origin. They are voices of a divine intelligence so vast, so intimate, that it bursts through culture and time to speak to every soul willing to listen. Let this be your beginning, not your conclusion. A call to spiritual curiosity, to read not just books, but the stars, to listen not only to preachers, but to dreams, to seek not simply knowledge, but alignment. The sacred is not confined to altars or temples. It is alive in your breath, your thoughts, your quiet moments of awe. You do not need to choose a name to honor the source. You only need to remember that the divine has always spoken many languages. And now I speak a prayer over you, not as a priest, but as a fellow seeker. May your path be lit by truths too deep to explain. May the breath of Olodumare guide your intentions. May Brahma's cycles teach you when to build, when to rest, and when to begin again. May the fire of Atum rise in you whenever you doubt your power to create. May your soul remember what your mind forgets. And may every act of love, truth, and courage reconnect you to the source. Like this video not to please the algorithm, but to honor the memory of the gods who shaped the stars and still speak through your spirit. Comment which name stirred something ancient in you, what myth, what image made you pause and remember. Subscribe to honor what was buried but never broken. Share this with those who forgot that our ancestors didn't just tell stories, they carried truths too big for one lifetime. Because the divine is not gone, it's waiting, watching, whispering, and maybe, just maybe this time, you'll hear it.